We've all had those little and big missteps in our lives. What if they weren't right or wrong? What if they were just choices on the way to consciousness? Welcome to the Missteps of Consciousness TV show with Hayden and Julie.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Missteps of Consciousness. And today I have a special guest, Erica Glessing. I almost forgot your last name there for a second. And what are we talking about today?
Creativity?
Mm-hmm. Or we were going to call it Jailbreak. Remember that?
Yeah, that sounds sexy.
Yeah, that doesn't bring up anything. Like, certainly didn't bring up anything for me. I can tell you that. Yeah. So, yeah. How would we like to start this, Erica? Would you like to? We've got a few books we're going to show off this episode as well that Erica has produced, and they're out now because we're like, oh yeah, bring them on, show them off, please. Yeah. So, would you like to do that first, or would we like to go into something else?
You know, the books are really funny because they're kind of hopping all over the place.
Yeah.
and like every time I show one, then the other one says it wants me to show it. And then the other one goes, you know, I'm really good too.
Wow.
And this one has Angela Redmond and Robin James, both from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And who else does it have from Rebecca Hull? So it has some nice kind of down under-ish energy.
Yeah.
So it wanted me to point that out.
From the bush.
And this is the new one, and this is like, I'm the new one. Don't I get any props? So, yeah, I think one of the things we talked about when we were preparing for this was how writing is such a fun way of creating something new and fresh and different in life.
Or creating in any way like that, like artistry or any sort of form. Yeah, we were discussing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one of the things that did come up for me a lot was the pitfalls of it. Because I know you gave me some facilitating about my writing and where I'd been making it tough and not fun, really, just not to, with the publishing and everything of that. So, yeah. How would we like to do this?
Yeah, I mean, what I just got shown was kind of like the message of how the creative process and building something that is not inside you anymore. So, for instance, like the painting, there's a painter named Bettina. This is one of her paintings in a print. She's really good. She did this cover.
Yes.
So before it was a painting, that wasn't the cover, that's a different painting.
Yes. Before
it was a painting, it was a bunch of consciousness in molecules that weren't in a form that were readily obvious to change the world. Yeah. So as something becomes in a form, in a body, as it's given a body, so a book, a record, an interactive class, an app, a drawing, once that entity then leaves the body and becomes something that can change things apart from needing to be connected to you. Mm-hmm. And this sounds kind of like publishing 1A. I mean, it sounds like so obvious. But what happens as people start creating something is it's really hard sometimes for people to see the perfection of their own creations. To
see the own beauty in what they've created there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or their awesomeness. One of my friends, Angela Darling, she writes gothic horror novels. Yeah. She just loves saying that because, like, when she's somewhere at a party and they say, well, what do you write? And she's very pretty and pale. She's blonde and very voluptuous and slender and just, looks like $1 million. And she goes, I write gothic horror novels. And like the room gets quiet and everyone just kind of goes, what? And her name's Angela Darling.
Is it like that hand shot and everyone just like turns to her?
Yeah. and they're like, oh, huh. And it's crazy, right? It's like this stuff comes out of her that's these like churning villains and stuff that happens, and her characters go through these interesting experiences. And it's like one of the books I wrote was, I write books about happiness. I don't write actually gothic horror novels, but I wrote a book called Prospect When You're Happy.
Yes.
And a woman named Dara read it in Seattle. And it was my first book. I didn't quite get how to promote it. I didn't even it didn't have a website. It didn't have a web presence. It didn't have SEO. I got press. I got media coverage, but I didn't know at that time, it was 2006, 2007. I didn't really get how to have it go kazoom. Like this one, Happiness Quotations, when this came out was, I made it a top 10 website for the title.
Yeah.
So Facebook.com/happiness quotations has over 60,000 fans.
Yeah.
So it looks like got it. It understood social media.
Yeah.
But my first book really didn't. But Dara read it.
Yes.
She wrote 9 novels. Something in the reading of that book did this.
And
then she had all these, and they were vampire novels, and they were sexy, and they were compelling. And she's like she's not a housewife. She works for a soda packaging company and lives in this is a true story. She lives in a trailer on land with dogs and a bunch of kids, and now she's even a grandma. She's 40 something. She's a grandma. Her kids had kids. Really shit. Yeah. Right. And now she's written 9 books, and she did that out of reading my book. She said, I can write better than that. Right? If Erica could do it, I could do it. Or she said, what Erica wrote in there wakes me up. Or she said, it's time. But something in the reading of my book opened up all of her life force and changed her entire world. So if I hadn't written that book, her 9 books wouldn't have got written the way they did, the way it happened. They still might have got written. They certainly wanted to get written and published. Yeah. And they're really good. She's a really excellent writer. And the only way we ever knew she was a good writer before was she did those little Christmas letters. Yeah. This year so-and-so went on a hike or something, right? But she did really good ones. And so you'd get all excited when Dara's letter was coming. You'd be all excited, but she's a brilliant writer. So if you look at what your book's going to do in the world, you never quite know what your book's going to do in the world. And it can cause way more change than you could possibly fathom. The only way it doesn't cause a lot of change is when it's just sitting on your hard drive.
When you kill that... when you kill the energy of creativity with that, or you jail it, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Everything that brings up times a gazillion. Just right now, creative.
Yeah, so I challenge the listener, how much of your brilliance is sitting somewhere, just asking to be expressed, and you've not let it get expressed.
Yeah. How much have they been looking away? I do with how the book, how it was choice creates. You chose to create that, and then it was that whoosh. And then I also how using that point where it's oh, I can write better than that to your advantage, to her advantage. It just does it exponentially.
Yeah, and she really could write better. I mean, I've done readings with people because I'm also a medium, and I've done readings with people and they'll say, but I'm such a better medium than some other mediums they've hired. And it's really interesting to me that we doubt ourselves until someone outside of us kind of goes, you're really awesome. And you go, really, I am? I'm awesome?
Yeah.
but you can't really wait for everyone else to see your brilliance. When your brilliance is asking to pop out, it doesn't. You have to believe in it yourself before everyone else, and then that will just. Good morning.
That was a surprise. Yeah. Sorry about that.
I call that a what? That's the universe sanctioning what we just said.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Could you say it again then, so everyone can hear it?
I can't remember. Was that good? I'll have to listen to the replay and see what I said right before that.
Yeah.
Because that was to draw attention to it, right?
Yeah. Does it get any better than that? Oh. I had something, and then my phone went off. And where was I going to go with it?
Well, I can talk a little bit about what differentiates like a book that should be born versus a book that might not want to get born.
What do you mean by that, might I ask? Like,
well, what I look for when I'm publishing,
yes,
is life force.
Yeah.
So I look for life force.
Yes.
So I have on any given day, I might have 7 ideas for a new book.
Mm-hmm.
But only, I think, 15 got built last year. So, but 365 days, I probably had 500 ideas. If I sit around long enough, I'm gonna get some more ideas. I have more stuff I want to write. So, oftentimes, if you're a creative individual and you like to create, and you like to create, and you like to create, and it's like you're happy when you're creating,
mm-hmm.
you'll have more ideas than time, or more books than space, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then you want to choose like. Now, others might work for 6 years on one book, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So those who spend years and years and years on one book, then their job is to foster that book through to creation.
Yeah.
But some of us get ideas every day for a book. And if we're like that, then what I look at, because some people just have ideas for books all the time.
Yeah.
But then I say to look at the life force. So I look at like the energy of that book. So when we were talking to one of the creations that you've been kind of having on your back burner,
yeah,
it actually had a life force.
Yeah.
Like it actually was a possible entity.
Yeah.
So the stronger the life force is, the less we can deny it.
Yeah. It will definitely tell you, like, it pulls energy, like, because it's alive at that point. It will be telling you. Yes.
Like, for example, I'll just say something completely controversial and ridiculous.
Oh, this should be fun.
So in 2012, I was sitting there, and I was kind of in between things. I was in an in-between things phase. And Michael Jackson's spirit came to me and gave me a book to write.
Okay.
And I hadn't done a lot of talking to dead people yet. I mean, it's pretty foreign to me. I had some communications with spirit starting 10 years before, but I really hadn't gotten like something this clear. So I just put him through a barrage of tests. Like, if you're Michael Jackson, put some on the radio. So I get on the radio, PYT, oh, come on. Like, that was too easy, okay? So then I would be like, he really does sound like Michael Jackson. Okay. And I'd ask specific questions of like his attorney that was in jail for him, or his doctor that went to jail for giving him drugs.
Yeah.
And I asked specific questions about things, and I would write down what he said, and then I would go look at the history because I didn't know that much. Okay. And everything was documentable. And I went, okay. So then it was really clear to me that it was Michael Jackson's spirit. Yeah. Like there was no getting around it. It was what it was. So he wanted me to write a book about the good work he did in the world for children. He wanted more work for children to continue. Okay. And again, I hadn't really gotten a lot of messages from spirit in my life. And so I was just not quite ready. And I was like, and what's the legalities of ghostwriting? He goes, well, because on my bio, at that time I was getting money to be a ghostwriter. Yeah. And you're a ghostwriter? And I was like, oh crap, you're right. So I couldn't do it. And then about 6 months later, I looked and there was this advertising for a book that was on the same thing. So he actually, his spirit went to someone else who was more willing or more crazy or more open to the concepts and wrote a beautiful book for him on his behalf. But it was interesting because
Go ahead.
Isn't it like 5 in the morning?
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised all this stuff is happening.
You're so popular.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So that's kind of something where that book had a life force so strong and like a cause.
How's it get any better than that?
It was funny because if I was hosting, I would have laughed the whole time you froze. But I didn't. I was just very quiet. So I just kind of sat there going, what am I supposed to do now?
Hello, welcome to the Erica Show, where it's just me on Erica on these two other people's show.
Do you think there's any entities messing with us right now?
Oh, I would have to say probably yes. Yeah. Getting a couple of answers.
Yeah, later.
Yeah.
Come back from whence you came. We're having a show.
Okay.
Alrighty, Aiden. So yeah, that's kind of how I do the books. And then this book came in recently. It got international bestseller, so it had a lot of fun getting launched very recently.
Yeah.
And the topic was fun because a lot of authors were scared to write like I'm good with money. Like no one wanted to say that. So there was a lot of like interesting stuff that came up for people as they started to contribute. Yeah. And some people were very comfortable contributing, but some people kind of had to work through some of their money stuff in order to contribute, in order to feel comfortable doing that. And then this is really funny too, because usually I go out and I find someone to do the introduction.
Yes.
Like in this one, I have someone doing an introduction, and let's see, in this one, who did the introduction? Let's see. So I like to find different people to do the introductions, and often I get really cool people like Daria Hansen, who was in this book, did the introduction for the Power of Release and Judgment book. The Ease of Having Money, I couldn't get someone to do an introduction. Like nobody was willing to stand up for it.
Have not been willing to have the ease of money.
Yeah, so I actually asked like lots of different people that were like referred to me as being really good with money, and it was hysterical because like not one of them would agree to just do an introduction. An introduction just says, hey, this is interesting, check it out. It's not even like you have to say you're interesting, you just say this is interesting.
Yeah.
And so my other books, introduction people, like I have more people asked to do it than I could have room for.
Yes.
Because there's only one. And so I'd have these people saying, well, I can't be in the book, but I'd love to do the introduction.
Yeah.
And then this book was so funny. And so I sat there with it for quite some time, and I was curious about that because it was just very interesting. So I ended up writing the introduction myself. Yeah, I stood up, and so I say, it is with great joy I share the content of this book.
Yeah.
May it inspire you and change your life. I mean, that's just so easy to say, right? And it was very interesting that so few people were willing to teach others about money.
Yeah.
And yet it seems like everywhere you go, people are teaching people about money. And yet there was some kind of like wall around that, like, you know. So we ran into a lot of walls when this book was being created.
Yeah. With you creating the introduction, did it decide for you to create it? Like, did you?
Yeah, it did, huh?
Yeah, because
yeah,
you have ease with money potentially. Yes. So, what would you do with those blocks? Like, what can we do to create beyond those? What can we? Is there like some super way we have to change it? I know we ask questions and we question, but is there something we can ask? Something in particular?
So quite often when you're asking to change in a big way,
yes,
you get thrown something like a book to create that will change your world.
Yeah.
And then you go, do I really want to change my world? Do I really want to be an international best-selling author?
Am I willing to step up to this?
Acclaim and be on shows? Am I willing to be of it and let it be not of me also? Am I willing to get my creation out to the planet and then let that start having little babies?
Yeah.
Because then it starts creating other. So you want to get into the place of being, so one question would be like, am I willing? Am I willing to let go of control? One of my authors, she was working, she was a painter. So I was coaching her on becoming a painter. I'm not a painter, but I was on creative process.
Yeah.
And so she had a lot of opinions about who could buy her art and who couldn't.
Okay.
And where she wanted her art to go, like in someone's house, like when they bought it.
Yes.
And I said, well, what if they bought it and they just shredded it and used it for litter in their bird cage? and she was like, oh no, I wouldn't want that. I go, well, once you get comfortable with that, then you have to sell your art. And so then she built this whole website to sell her art.
Yeah.
The first time I got with her, she hadn't put any price tags on anything.
Yeah.
She goes, I'm not selling anything. I go, it's not even for sale. Oh, they're for sale. I go, how would I know that? Well, I just figured people will ask me if they want to buy it. I go, what else could you do? And she goes, oh. So then she started putting price tags on things.
Yeah.
And she still wasn't selling a lot of things. So she was like, And then that's when we got into her having this huge control issue around who could read it, who couldn't read it, who could enjoy it, who could not enjoy it, where would they put it, where would they not put it. And that whole thing around being so into that.
Yeah.
So into that. Sorry about that.
That's right.
That whole thing. Here someone will call me also just so we didn't do it. You know. I'll go on my Skype and tell them I'm not available. I'll go make that block. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, So when you're all attached to what's going to happen when people buy your art, what that does, what that does is it's very successful. It keeps anyone from buying it. So that you don't have to really own it. You don't have to really be it. You don't have to really stand up in its space because you care too much. So once you stop caring, and now that doesn't mean, so now that I don't care, and I'm saying don't care kind of facetiously because you get to care, but when you let go of needing to control what happens to your art once it leaves you, do you feel how happy the book is knowing it can go wherever it wants to go?
It's freedom. Like you're freeing it. Yeah,
it's so delicious. It's like a lot of people when this was my second book, and this one was really popular, but a lot of people would not read it. They would buy it.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that in our pre-session, and they would put it, and they'd say, I have your book, and it's right by my bed. Everybody would say that. I was like, everybody wants me by their bed. And I was like, But then what it turned out was on days they would need it, they would reach for it, and then they would open it, and then they would get something out of it. So it was perfect. And I got very comfortable not caring if they'd actually even opened the book. Yeah. Like I got very unattached to, did you read it or not? I didn't even need them to read it. Like if they got my book, I just went, great. And one time this book, it was very interesting. I had a friend in Italy, and I shipped it to her. And it went from the book distributor to her, and it took over a month of untracked space.
Yeah.
It just wandered over to Italy. We were always curious about that. It just took forever.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know what it was doing that whole month, but 4 or 5 weeks later, the day she got the book, a friend came over. She'd had it an hour. She'd been ordered it. She was someone who would coach me, so she couldn't wait. She was so excited. She was Patricia Scalisi was her name. She was one of my coaches, and she was so beautiful. She couldn't wait for the book. She's so excited to get my book because she helped me coach me to finish it. So it was like she felt part of it.
Yeah.
So it gets to her house in Italy, comes in the door. An hour later, her friend comes over just going through a divorce, and she has to give the book to her. And the book wanders off. And Patricia had to order it again.
The book, they know.
I didn't have it on Kindle yet. But how cool is that? Like that the book knew where it needed to go and it went there. It was so cool. And so what you want to do if you're interested in having like more book sales or more creations or more things,
More
is
everything.
to create it with lots of gusto.
Yeah.
And then give it the wings it needs.
Yeah.
And then let it do what it chooses to do in the world. Let it help whoever it's supposed to help. And once you release that need to care, you know.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're a clothing designer and you only wanted blondes to wear your clothes.
How constricting that is.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry, you're brunette. Thanks though. I don't want your money. I've really designed this for blonde. As I was designing it, I was just seeing blondes. So now, your coloring also, I kind of like a more
all those judgments, everything that brings up.
I really like it if you were from Spain. Also, I think I really want it for Spanish. So thank you though. But no, I think I'll just hold on to my clothing line.
Yeah.
And then I'll find maybe one or two people to wear my outfit and then I'm good. And that's the energy that people put into their creations.
Just how limiting that is though. Like,
did you feel it?
It's so small. It is it is tiny. We've only got a little bit of time, by the way. Yeah, I know, it's gone quick. But yeah. It's so small. So what would you do that? That's such an unkindness to the book.
Oh my gosh, right? And so as you start opening up everything to everything, is you just open up your creation and you give it wings and you give it that space and you put it in a book, let it go on Kindle, let it be seen around the world, let people reach for it. If you're doing paintings, maybe have a facsimile up on a website, and then let them go into galleries and let them be seen and loved where they naturally will be sort of like
admired, viewed.
Yeah. And then the guests of those places will be the ones that say, this would be a good fit for my people.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be that police.
Yeah.
You just relax and say, yeah.
Oh, so everywhere you've been killing the judgment, not killing your creation with the judgments, shit of everything. So you destroy and uncreate it all.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pump fuck, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And just going back to the questioning, like ask your books and your creations questions. Like, okay, when would you like to be created? How big would you like to be? What would you like to be? What title? I remember you gave me that tool. Like, come up with your book cover and see how that'd be like to be created, and that'll create as well. And I've been using that, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I had. I think I told you I'm doing this 60 Days of Happiness project.
Yeah.
And when my friend made the design for it, it like changed everything. Like I was able to really tap into the energy of it, and it gave it so much more life force when I had the banners and all the pretty fixings that went with it. It was like, it felt so good. And then it inspires you back to do more.
Yeah. Wow. That's that energy of, I'm here, I'm not leaving. Like, I'm halfway through created. Look, create me.
Yeah, so where it's always challenging when you're a crazy being of consciousness because you're changing all the time. So then it's like interesting to be in creation of a book. And I think it was one of the books we talked about. This one. So we talked about this one, and Heather Smith wrote it, and she really stayed in the zone like the whole time. Every moment she was writing, she was in it. She was flowing it. She was talking to the characters. She was letting the characters do their thing.
Yeah.
She had some really interesting characters. She said it 10,000 years ago in Egypt.
Yeah.
She just really tuned into, because what I got with your characters, so it feels like so the number showed up crazy. It was 6, and it showed up that 3 are good, and 3 would like a little bit more role. So they'd like stronger roles in your book. So they're kind of vying for.
This has turned into let's process Hayden with his books.
For your book. Well, I'm doing this book, what it reminds me of the energy of, I'm doing this book on dragons. One of my authors is writing a book on dragons, and she's making clay pots of dragons.
Yeah.
And then each dragon has a pot
Yes.
that is going to be on display in galleries.
Yeah.
And then she's doing a full color book with pictures of the dragons, but then dialogue.
Yeah.
And so each of the dragons, in fact, if we stay long enough, they'll start wanting to get on the show.
Yeah.
They're very chatty dragons, and they're really bright. So they're really brilliant, and they have a lot to share. And they're each vying for space in the book. Yeah. And they're also, right now, they're kind of arguing about the cover.
Yeah.
And she's so funny because she's a dragon she talks to dragons. You never know looking at her. And it's very amazing. And so that's kind of the energy I got from your book, was that the characters were kind of like messing about with you a bit. And so you could have fun with that and let them get into really interesting scrapes that would give them more ink.
Yeah. And that's obviously just for me, obviously, and it definitely won't bring anything up for anyone else. So.
Yeah, because nobody else has characters in their books that they're writing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the only one. And I'm sure you're the only one that has your book on your hard drive. How many people say that? Oh, I wrote a book. Oh, it's on my hard drive.
Well, with that, we should probably finish up because it's been more than half an hour. We usually go for half an hour. But
okay.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we jump off the cliff into creation?
Yeah, I mean, I just say get creating. Go for it.
Yeah, have fun. God.
Have fun.
Yeah. All right. If you'd like to learn more about Erica Glessing, there will be more about her in the description. And she's pretty easy to talk to, so just send her a message for the most part. But other than that, thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
And that's another week done and another great episode. Hope you all enjoyed as much as Hayden and Julie did. See you next episode.